Back to all of my talkers to Terrell Talks. If you're new to the platform, then let me give you the motto real quick. Our motto at Terrell Talks is everybody has a platform. It's all about how you use it. So I love to use my platform to share amazing people, stories, ideas that are going to inspire people. Also, sometimes to talk about some just difficult conversations that also challenge us and help us grow. So today I'm really excited to welcome someone who I consider to be a real boss babe. Okay. And I truly mean that. I've had the pleasure of knowing Nicole for over 10 years now. We have a very interesting story about how we first met. I approached Nicole to be a board member for then what was Brothers United, and she just jumped on board. And we've had the opportunity to work together, stay close, and stay connected. So, just to run down a little bit of Nicole's resume and why she's here to inspire and share her story, she's done it all. She has been a playwright, which is how I first met her. She's been a college professor. She's been a business owner. She is one of two Black-owned wine companies in the state of Indiana. And she is now, do you consider, what's your title at SipEasy? SipEasy, is it owner operator? What do you consider your title at
Yeah,
SipEasy?
there we go. Owner operator.
But now she went from having her own wine brand to now having a spot where you can come, hang out, network. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite places in the city of Indianapolis. So I would love for you all of my listeners to just sit back, lean in, and let's take some time to hear from someone who has done something that's really amazing. Not only has she started a wine company, but it's in major stores, which is something that I'm really interested to know about how you went from starting your own wine company at home to now within major stores. You've been profiled and highlighted in tons of magazines and publications really around the entire country. So it really is a privilege to have someone in Indianapolis, in my own community, that I know that is doing something really, really major on a national scale and took some time out of her day to share it with us. So Nicole, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on Terrell Talks.
I absolutely appreciate you. Wow, that was an amazing intro. I need to take you everywhere I go. It's like, wow, I've done
Absolutely.
some good things.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
wow.
And we didn't even scratch the surface yet. I'm sure once I start asking you questions, you're just gonna start telling me more about the amazing stuff that you've done.
Mhm. Wow.
So right before we got started on our conversation, we were talking a little bit behind the scenes. And so I mentioned to you that I wanted to start with your origin story, but I want to know more about what was Nicole's family like as a kid? Because we just talked about you working with your brother and how really it's a blessing because your brother does all of your marketing, your communications, and you said something that made me want to ask you this as the first question. You said it's a blessing growing up in a family that's really talented. So I want to know what was your family dynamic growing up and how has that motivated you to be the boss babe that you are today?
Mm. So my family is really unique. I am a military brat, as they would call it. My dad did 21, 22 years in the Army, so he's a vet. My mom worked for the government, so we moved all over the world. And so had the opportunity to see the world. I'm not from Indianapolis. I was born in southern New Jersey. My mom's born in Harlem. My dad's born from southern New Jersey. But our ancestral family home is North Carolina for both sides of my family. My mom, Western Carolina, and my dad were Northeastern Carolina. And so, the proverbial Black kid who went south for the summer. My great grandmother put us work for Amtrak back in the day where, there was the Pullman Porters age. And, we think it's really crazy, but that you would put, like a 3, 4 year old child on trains with a little note. And my note, and I have an older brother, our notes would be like, we're Ruth's babies. And my great grandmother's name is Ruth. And everybody knew that we'd get on. And so we got to hang out, with all the Black folks on the train. We got to learn a lot of valuable lessons while traveling up and down the East Coast. And so now everybody would never put their 3, 4-year-old kid unattended on a train, but it was normal back then. So my family's very musical. My grandmother was in church choirs. My mom, sang in choirs, also sang in clubs. My dad DJ'd on the side. My older brother DJ'd. We also were, education was core. And so I'm a nerd. I tell people, I've embraced it. I'm a nerd. I was and still am an avid reader. So I read everything. My mom also came up in the era of both Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. My great grandmother had the opportunity also being in Harlem to also meet, these great men and women of, the civil rights struggle. And so I just grew up in that Black Panther era. I grew up in a very Black liberation household that was always centered around what became, I guess, a more Pan-African or Black liberation not theology, but Black liberation framework, which is always self, family, community, nation, world. So, and then that has been, for me, has been further education through a lot of what I call some of the first Black families in Indianapolis, the Jawanzas, the Adisas, and also the Imwa Africas. And so, yeah, so my family really about education. All of my siblings have a degree. That was like never a thing. But my mom's sister was like, went to college. My mom went to college. So it was like they were first generation because I can go back, and the land that my parents live on belonged to my great, great, great grandfather.
Wow.
My great, great, great grandmother was alive during my lifetime. So I have that knowledge and ancestral history that is within me. And so I really do tell people I carry my ancestors with me.
Mhm. Yes.
And so, yeah, so just a really unique, not unique, I guess, to a lot of folks, but very Southern family. Like I said, education was key. And so it just, for me, it's super fun that I get to work with not just my siblings, but my entire family as I grow. They just join any crazy idea, like, hey, y'all, let's have a family meeting. And then I just share these
And they're down.
ideas. And yeah, they're just like, okay, this isn't the first business I've dragged my family into. So, yeah, they have supported me. Where people talk about family doesn't support them and all that, my family has always been 10 toes down on any idea and has supported me and coalesced together to help make things happen.
Well, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's a blessing. It's great to hear your origin story because now I'm starting to connect the dots and a lot of things really make sense. Being rooted in that culture, that really being rooted in Black culture, really being rooted in Black liberation theology and understanding, it's all about ownership. So you as a business owner having that history from the beginning, it's no surprise that you're now doing what you do. So my
Yeah.
question is, what did little Nicole want to do? Did you always want to be a business owner? I I don't know if
No.
you envisioned as a kid, I'm gonna start a wine brand, but what did little Nicole want to do?
So, little Nicole was seated by my great grandmother. Again, I spent a lot of time with my great grandmother growing up in New York. So, she moved from that first gentrification of Harlem to the South Bronx. By the time I, was old enough to do the thing, she was in the South Bronx, but originally she was in Harlem. And so she seeded in me culture and probably really, really try to seed in me womanhood that eventually I'm getting to now. But always dressed like, the hat, the purse, the
Uh-huh.
bag, match the clothes, but quality was the thing. So my great grandmother, Black woman, in in this big city, and the we would go she went to the butcher shop, and the butchers called her Mrs. They addressed her, very formally. She knew the jewelers, in the community. Again, everyone, Mrs. Fox was very, it was very formal, but also very friendly. You knew that there was this give or take. And so, with New York being a very ethnically diverse, so your butchers were families of Germans back then. Your jewelers were families of Jews. So I grew up in that. And then my great grandmother, we call her Gigi, was very like, you need to be cultured. So she took me to the theater. So I'm a kid who grew up going to Broadway as a kid. I
Okay.
saw the original Annie. So when everybody's talking about Sarah
Wow.
Jessica Parker, Sex in the City, no, she was Annie, y'all. She was Annie on
Wow.
Broadway.
You saw Sarah Jessica Parker as Annie
Yeah,
original on
Annie.
Broadway.
Original
Wow.
Dreamgirls. Original Dreamgirls. Yes, as
What?
a kid. She was like,
Wow.
these are things you go and you learn about because you have to know where you come from. And so I grew up on that. And then when I turned 8 and we left the country, my grandmother, my great grandmother, my Gigi gave me the anti-discipline person. Yeah, I am just the anti-discipline person. I am all over the place at all times. And I have had to had to learn real focus. So I meditate and I do a lot of yoga. And I always say, let's get one thing done and move this off the board before we can do something else. So I just I have an ideal book, and I encourage people, or whatever you write on, is if it's your phone you talk into, and I just dump ideas. I just dump ideas consistently into this book, and that I can come back to later. And so I always joke that people are on their phones, and those, people have accidents. They always talk about people on their phones. I'm gonna be the person who's writing in a notebook that probably rear ends you, or yeah, because I'm always in my car with a notebook. I'm getting better. I'm talking into my phone, but really saying I need to focus on this project and get this project to over the finish line before I can do, like I said, anything else. And I also just have this thing, I don't know, internally now within me. It's like, nope, you don't, you can write the little bits and pieces of it, but I won't give it to you until you finish
Mm,
this thing over here that you started. So that for me, and then I also have a really good group of friends who I have an accountability group who are like, "Did you finish it? Is it done?" So
mhm.
that's real helpful. Get you an accountability group who stay on your head, and I mean, will talk real reckless to you when you start talking about something new, and they'll shut you down real quick. Yep.
What had what did teaching teach you about yourself? And how did teaching others maybe help you grow as a writer?
That I knew nothing. That I knew nothing. And I taught adult learners, which is still my passion. I love. And then I also did teach a lot of young people right out of high school, and some folks that are in high school. That were, I actually taught young folks graphic Gothic literature in high school as well. And so I learned always listen, that every day you learn something new, and you learn a new perspective. So I'm
Mhm,
coming from a very, I love Gothic literature. So I teach a lot of Gothic literature, Black literature, African American, women literature. So that's like my jam, the Black arts movement. And then what is called the quote unquote American canon of
mhm,
literature. Um, so it's interesting to get that new perspective from young people, and you learn a lot, because Gothic literature is a lot about in the undertones, there's a lot of religiosity in it. And
mhm.
light, dark, black, white, good, bad, but young people especially can see the gray. And man, to have young people like writing you essays and showing you this different pathway, that was dope. I wouldn't teach young people again. But that was really a dope time. But really just understanding folks, and getting a deeper appreciation again for community and for people's level of how people take in information and how people bring it back out, and just really opening up people's eyes that books and reading is really a pathway of expression and of learning so much more about yourself and your community. Yeah.
Okay. So you've done writing, you've done teaching, and now you have a wine business. So I think people can
Mhm.
easily make the connection between writing and teaching. What do you think connects your wine business? What do you think is a consistency across the work that you've done? Is
Writers
there any
drink.
consistency?
It is
Writers
writers
drink?
drink. So my actually starting a winery came out of grad school.
Okay,
So
tell me more.
I had always been so again, I grew up in Germany. So in
Hmm.
Germany, you can drink at a young age. They have what they call kinder beer, children's beer. We spend a lot of time in Italy, so everybody's drinking in Italy, even including children. They'll give you something. They'll put like a little spritzer in, make it into a spritzer, but you're getting introduced to this at a young age in a lot of European cultures. So when I went to grad school, we discussed our work over nice adult beverages.
Hmm.
And so one of my classmates is a sommelier, and so he was like, "Bring a wine and be prepared to discuss it. Like why?"
Hmm.
Like
Okay.
we're just because we were just drinking whatever was at the hotel bar, or we went. I went to grad school in Louisville, Spalding University in Louisville, Kentucky. We later found out there was a Kroger around the corner from us, so we were like, oh, and but he was like, no, I want you to be serious about it. Like think about it. And
Hmm.
that was 2008. And for the first time, I actually asked myself, are there Black people in the wine business? I had
Hmm.
never really thought about that. And so when I learned at that time, there were about 30 that showed up online. And I was like, wow. So my mission was to bring this wine to the table. So when I got started, I really was a brand ambassador for about 6 brands,
Really?
and that's how I got into it. And then I started doing home tastings for people because I was like, do y'all know we're in this business and we make good juice? Like, this is amazing. And that's really how it started. But then laws, regulations, all these things led me to actually just taking my family's always made wine and shine because we're from North Carolina.
Hmm.
And so and fruit trees, and even in New Jersey, fruit trees, everything back then, if you ask your folks, people could walk down the street and pull fruit off of trees. And so they would take that fruit, when it was harvest time, and they would make it into whoever had this type of wine. You had apple, you had peaches, and they would share that amongst the family. So it's just always been in my family to do. And
Hmm.
so I just took that tradition and I guess commercialized it, codified it into something and created a business with it, and then went into making my own wine just off of what my family did. But writers drink. Don't let anybody tell you they don't. Writers drink. If you ever see a group of writers, there's probably they're meeting somewhere where there's some alcohol, or they're going to get to the alcohol portion of the evening. And so that just became this synergy between and because I love words, that, and then just my how I live my life. Again, the intention, love, manifest. So the words that I kind of use as a guide that have been passed down through my family were the actual names of the wine.
Awesome. So, sip and share. Did it come from what you just said about that family tradition of where you would share the different types of wines, or how did you come up with the name for sip and share?
Grad school. That's what we did. we
Okay.
sipped
Literally,
wine
sip
or our
and share.
beverage, and we shared our work and gave each other feedback to make our work better. So it literally is homage to my grad school group, and that we went through grad school together. it is a straight homage to them, but you know, again, family history and tradition, but really from that group of folks that helped me get through grad school, and we're all still friends to this day. We've done a couple reunions. We need to get us back together in Louisville for another reunion. But yeah, it's really that. And then, like you said, the deeper roots would be the sipping and sharing in the communal sense. But yeah, that's sip and share, y'all.
So, awesome, awesome origin story. I love to hear when things happen organically. It's just like you're just doing it and then it just happens. You just have the idea, you decide to follow through with it, and then next thing you know, it grows. Did you ever envision that it would grow to this when you first started? And when I say
Absolutely
this, I
not.
mean big in places like Total Wine, and now being the owner operator of the Sip Easy. Did you envision that this would be your new reality?
And not at all. Because again, when this all came to me, I was like, I'm still going to have a show on Broadway. Like I was writing a
Hmm.
Broadway show. I actually did a post grad fellowship to finish a musical. And because I love musicals. So to finish this musical so I could start submitting it. And then my life took this 180 when I got into making wine. A girlfriend signed me up for an event called Open Bite Night
Hmm.
that started, I think, about 2011, 12, somewhere in there. And I participated. And so from then on, I was just like, okay, how do I do this? And then people were like, I want to take it home. And so it just progressed into this. I'm just doing this thing on the side. It's super fun to know I need to like put it in a bottle and expand it. And then Total Wines came to us
Wow.
and never didn't even see it as being again a product. I never had wholesale in my mind, but the Total Wine came to us, and we ended up in 7 stores in 2 states, and a lot of it was fun. I tell people, but
Mhm.
it is a different. Um, it I never want to discourage people, so really understand how you're doing and what you're doing and your why. And as
Mhm.
we expanded, actually, the conversation I had before I talked to you dealt with this. The expansion was great. We ended up in about 8, 10 states that we currently were doing businesses, but I am now contracting back a lot of that business because we do have the SipEasy bar, which allows us to have a space where people can not only taste it, but they can buy bottles and take
Mhm.
them home. And so I didn't need to be all over. And a word I was just given was like, when you expand, you lose control of what your brand is. And so
Mhm.
that's what happened. Like when, we're in California, we're in Seattle, Washington, we're in New York, the whole DMV, Atlanta, but you lose some of that control of how you want your story told.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of traveling, which I did. I'm getting older. So I'm like doing all the traveling, trying to be in places. And then it's great that you're employing a lot of people. But again, it's making sure those people are up to par, or I want to say up to par, are knowledgeable to tell your story the way you want it told. And then again, without a like we were letting people into our winery, but it's more production, but now having a space where we say people can come to sip, share, and connect.
Mhm.
Um, that was like that just came. The timing came, and then of course with all the other social political things happening in the world right now, it was like, you know what, this is a good time to bring everything back home. I had a conversation about 2, 3 years ago with Denise Hurd of Hurd Strategies, beautiful woman. She's a mentor to me, whether she realizes it or not. But she just, I was saying, hey, I'm not really even known, through Indy. Like I'm still showing up at places and people haven't heard about my brand. And I'm like, what the heck? And she was like, nope, you're looking at it wrong. Look at it
Mhm.
as the positive that you still have territory to gain.
Oh, all
And
right.
yeah, and she was like, you still have people to
That's
impact
good
because
advice.
yeah, you're not known everywhere. So you still got, work to do in your own city. And
Hmm.
that has resonated with me, and I've carried that. So when people are like, "Oh, you're contracting back," just at first I was like, "It looks like failure," and this is really the first time I'm publicly talking about this,
You
because
got
it
the
is not,
exclusive.
yeah, it is not known, but we are contracting back, and like I said, it's not a failure. It's really a good business move because I haven't taken over my city. There's still people in my city that don't know. So I need my city to know. And I'm all about intentionality, everything I
Hmm.
do. So even though I knew this wasn't a video recording, I am wearing a Flourish hoodie by,
Hmm.
Flourish Local, because of my people. And that is what I'm trying to do is flourish, but within my own city because I've gone beyond and it's cool, but being able to impact my city and show people this is something that could be done because I think we have a really good beverage, black beverage specifically ecosystem, but people don't even know. So Sip Easy is an opportunity for me to curate and storytell other local and inclusive beverages. So for me, I get to talk about Alan Henderson. And, people know him as, the Indiana, grew up in Indiana, went to Brebeuf, played ball, IU, NBA player, but he makes an amazing burnt orange bourbon, y'all. And
Really?
it is like my favorite bourbon to drink. And so people don't know
Wow.
that story. And so they
Uh-huh.
don't know there's a black owned tequila in our city. Um, we also have not a gin. Alan Henderson also makes a gin that is amazing. So it's being able to share, um, not only share shelf space and give folks that not just black but anybody that's doing really good business give an opportunity to provide shelf space and a retail opportunity, but also to tell that story so we get
Mhm.
to know who's in our community. It's just not about me, it's about all of us in this community. And so that is really, that kind of is the trajectory I'm on. I still make wine. Um,
Mhm.
Another exclusive that I'll give you, because when I get done with you, I have a later appointment that folks have been asking me. So we make a sparkling wine, and it typically comes out this time of year for the holiday season. It's back,
Mhm.
y'all. It's back.
All right.
So I might be labeling it later today, maybe, but
Okay.
it will definitely be on our shelves soon, and you'll be able to get it at the bar um, very soon. But for me, I've also decided to, I've always tried to not to be the DJ that only spins their favorite records. That's my analogy. But I've learned that there are things that I really like to drink. And there's a lot of my other peers and colleagues who make equally as amazing wine that, again,
Mhm.
I want to share their story. So I don't need to make seven different varieties of wine. I've never made Pinot Noir, and people are always like, "Oh, why don't you?" Because I know the folks who make the best Pinot Noir,
Uh-huh.
and I have it at my house in my wine fridge, and I drink it. So I don't need to do that. And so I want to do things that really bring me pleasure. Like I make a red blend, Gratitude. It's called Gratitude. I love it. We'll probably continue that because it brings me pleasure. I am a sparkling, though, through and through girly. I love champagne. I love sparkling wine. Germans call it Sec. Spanish call it Cava. Prosecco in Italy. If it bubbles and it sparkles, I drink it.
It's yours.
And so people know me for that. So I was like, you know what? I need to really double down on that. Like that's my passion. And that's what I need to bring to the people, because I also think people mistake sparkling wines for special occasions. And
Hmm.
we limit it to that. But y'all, in
Mm.
right now, this current state of the world we are living in, it's Friday. Y'all made it to the end of the week. Open you a bottle. Wednesday, whew,
Okay.
y'all,
Listen, I'm with you where you're right.
we right. We woke up and we
I'm with you where
accomplished
you're right.
two, three things off our list. Monday afternoon, you having a good lunch, and you don't got to go back and do nothing else. Drink you a glass. So Okay. I just want people to get joy where they can. And sparkling
Hmm.
wine brings me joy. And so I have a friend who I did a party for, and she has a for real cellar like in her house, in her basement. And everybody was bringing her sparkling wine, and I was like, girl, just if you let me, I'll just collect it and I'll put it in there. Because me, I was trying to be nosy. I was trying to be in my girl's cellar. I was trying to see her bottles and just to be in that space. And my girl's cellar was 98% all sparkling. And I loved it. And I'm in there and I'm like, girl, can I organize some of this? She's like, girl, go, just do you. And that, mind you, I'm there supposed to be pouring wine. I'm doing that too, but I am having a ball. And so I was like, yes, like that's going to be me. There's, again, certain things I like to drink, but I really like bubbles. So I think going into this season of my life where I am, yeah, I want to bring bubbles out. But like I said, there's so many other people who make good stuff. So I want to share that shelf space, share those stories. So really curate. So I call myself now a beverage curator and storyteller. That is where
Mhm.
I'm moving for Sip and Share. Um, being a winemaker is fun and it's a wonderful thing, but there's still a lot of wine that black, brown, all of the, small makers that we don't know about, especially, in the indigenous community, the
Mhm.
Latino community, the Asian community. Like we don't know about these wonderful brands. Like, we're not culturally as a whole up on sake. And I
Mhm.
grew up on sake. So I'm like, yeah, we need to bring sake in. Like, so I'm just in this bag of sip and share being not only wine, but really sip and share beverages, um, and their stories. Like that's where sip and share is moving. And again, that is y'all getting it all today. Y'all getting the good tea. Terrell just because that's not
Yeah,
public either.
all
Yeah.
of it. So I want to ask you more about SipEasy, but before we transition, I want to ask you a question about learning because
Mhm.
you mentioned something about what you've learned and about scaling your business. So I want to know, because I think sometimes the assumption is when you go into a business or when you start something new, you got to know everything before you can start. And I don't think that's the case. You can never know everything before you get started. So what's your process for learning? Because you had to learn the wine business and now you're learning what it's like to own and operate I'll call it a brick and mortar business. Um, so what's your process for learning and what's been your biggest learning lesson throughout this process?
Mhm. Um, so I, again, as a writer, I write a lot of things down. And I listen and I ask people to give me feedback. And I write those notes down. And many times, sometimes they're not pleasant, but I ask people for truthful feedback. So I take those to my therapist and I cry about those, y'all. But I write them down and try to learn. And so I did do an article I put out, I think a year or so ago, about after we hit, I think so we just hit our 5 years as a winery last year. Thank
Congratulations.
you. And I put out the five things, I think five or seven things that I had learned over that time. And yeah, a lot of it is, scaling is great if you want to take a lot of outside money. So we hear scale and we hear growth. And they are
Hmm.
two different things. Growth is, yep, your business is doing well, you're profitable. You've hit where your peak is at, you're actually profitable. Um, but scale is when people want you to be like we were 7 states and you know
Hmm.
what? That may not be your thing. And also, what is your kind of end game for your
Hmm.
business? I'll tell you the biggest thing I learned. was for my children.
Really?
Um, I started all this in my mind, like, oh, it's going to be this legacy, and I'm going to leave this to my children, and they're going to do this. My children, who are now 25 and 27, sat me down about 2 years ago and said, yo, we don't
They
want
don't
this.
want it. They don't want
This
it.
ain't, we don't want this. Like, this is not the life. Like, because, and my children have grown up in this business and they have done
Hmm.
all the things. They have worked in the winery, they have sold the product. And my son has done the financials. Like, they know the business. And I used to have this thing I would say to them, like, I want my grandchildren and great grandchildren to be able to be on a boat, and
Hmm.
on a yacht, excuse me, in
Hmm.
Central K, just
Okay.
because.
Just
And
because.
and I want my children to be able to vacation wherever. Well, my children, y'all, they bust my little bubble because my daughter travels, and she was
Okay.
like, "Ma'am, if I want to be in Central K,
She's gonna
I
be in
can book
Central.
my trip and I can be there." And I'm just like, "Oh." So she was like, "Don't do this for us. Do
Wow.
this for you." And that reframed how I thought about legacy.
Hmm.
And I was really like, you're right. So, and I say this to say, again, people say scale, like you should be scaling it because people think of scaling to sell. Some of us just
Hmm.
want a business that makes us whatever X number of dollars a year and we're comfortable and we're good. It takes care of our family. And I had to really rethink, like, my children aren't going to do this. They may
Right.
own it, and they know how the process is, but you know, they're not looking to take this over. Now,
Hmm.
and so that really made me like, So that was my biggest lesson. And really that's when I started thinking about the contracting back in and how do I do this? And then the again, a shift in the social economics of the world really kind of helped me propel that into motion. And so that is my biggest learning lesson. So again, I tell you, listen to the people, and people won't always tell you what you want to hear because it hurt my feelings, y'all. Like, and I
Hmm.
took notes. Like, I literally came to the table, I took notes, I listened, I heard, I reread those notes over days. I came back, asked my children questions, and the answer was the same. No, sis, we don't
No.
want this. Like, this is
No.
not the life. Like they were like, you raised us to be independent thinkers,
Hmm.
to use education as a stepping stone to get the things we want. And we are living those lives, which I'm proud. I'm like, yeah, y'all, you're doing the thing. Like, super, super love the lives my children have. But then I'm like, oh, wow. So I didn't. So they're like, yeah, if we create something, it's the creation of what makes that fits in our life, like not what you want to do. And so I'm now at the point where I'm like, okay, I told them, hey, I'm gonna, I got this opportunity to get this bar, and they're like, do it, like, boom, like that's cool, like that's in direct correlation. Will my children ever want to run a bar? No, no. My daughter has a hospitality background, so I did go to her and learned a lot from her, like tell me about the workings at your different restaurants, and I did a lot of that because I never worked in the restaurant industry in my entire life. I've always worked in retail. And so yeah, so I had to listen and be like, that's not that's not the legacy. I'm not necessarily leaving Sip and Share Wines as a legacy winery, but I am want to create the legacy. I want to leave is a platform.
Hmm.
And you said this. Oh, and I love this. You said this in your beginning. Everyone has a platform. It's how you use it. And I have wrote that
Hmm.
down. So see, I wrote that down. And
Uh-huh.
so my platform is to help others who look like me um grow at however that grow and scale looks like to them, their businesses, specifically in the adult beverage space. Um, because I can do that. And so
Absolutely.
that I think that was ultimately what this whole business was founded on. When I started out as a brand ambassador, then I got into wine, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going back to that core. So that yeah, that's ultimately what I learned is move yourself out of the way,
Hmm.
and the way will appear.
Well, move yourself out of the way, and the way will appear.
Yes.
So I just want to personally vouch for the wine, sip and share whenever I have opportunity. I'm so glad that you do have SipEasy now because when I first heard about your wine, I was at some community event. Somebody was working the table and they're like, "Oh, sip and share wine. It's a new wine. We have a black woman that's the owner of our business." And then someone said, "Nicole Kearney." And then I said, "Nicole," because remember we had known each other for years. I said, "Nicole has a wine." And then I was like, "Okay, well, let me try it. I'll give it a try." And then I asked them which type would they recommend. And kudos to your staff. They're all very informed. So they're like, "Oh, what kind of wine do you like? Do you like a sweet wine? Do you like a dry wine? Do you like an in between?" I'm like, kind of like one that's in between. So then they recommended Love, which is the white Ziff, and I fell in love with it. And it's literally my favorite wine. Like my favorite wine, period. Hands down. And I say that to say it's just so cool because I really mean that. Even if I did not know you and it wasn't your wine, it would still be my favorite wine because it's just that good. And everybody I know, they all have their own favorite wine. Like I was talking to my godmom, her favorite wine is Manifest, which is the no. Manifest. I was talking to somebody else. Their favorite wine is Manifest. Her favorite one is the red blend, which is
Gratitude.
Gratitude. Yes, Gratitude.
Yep.
So
I think I know your grandma.
yes, so she loves the Gratitude. That's her absolute favorite. So I want to personally vouch for the wine and tell everybody that it's amazing. If you have opportunity to grab some, to taste some, highly recommend. And it's if it's there, I will only buy your wine because of course I'm gonna support my black people and I know you and it's great. So it's a win-win-win, you know? So kudos to you
You.
for having a really great product. And I think it's branded well because I love the names of each one, how it is a powerful affirmation. So I
Yes.
celebrate you for your amazing product.
Thank
And
you.
so now you're in this new space. You went from having your wine to then you had a winery and now you have a bar. So how did the opportunity come about for you to take over this space within the AMP? Because one, for people who don't know about it, it's an amazing space. It's located centrally in Indianapolis. It's right in the middle of everything. If you're going to the AMP, you can go there for meeting spaces. There's a food hall with lots of great restaurants. I was just there earlier this week. Had my turkey burger from the Bull Burger place. It's like my favorite turkey burger. So I love the food there. You're always going to run into great people and network. So I think it's just such an amazing opportunity and a great place for you to be at. Considering exactly what you said, there's still people here who don't know who you are. So how did that opportunity come about and how did you know it was the right opportunity for you?
So again, I know all this sounds crazy, but um, write everything down, yeah. So when I started, so believe in I get downloads in my sleep. Things are given to me. I say the all and the ancestors speak to me regularly. And so I write things down. So I have my original notebook for how all this sip and share was supposed to look. And I always knew I would have some type of tasting room. Like that's in my original notebook. And so I wanted that bar from the jump. When the concept first came,
Really?
I was there talking to them, but they had already like started talking to bigger venues. They just felt like I wasn't known enough and I didn't have the to do it. And that's
Hmm.
okay. Um, they had a learning lesson. They've been through several operators. We are not the
Hmm.
first, but as our name grew and our reputation grew, and then folks that also worked for them knew me and knew my work, not just in wine but in community. And I say that the AMP is a community space. And so the bar should be a community bar. It should be your neighborhood gathering space. So once I started talking again, I just kind of started the conversation, and then they called me and they were like, "Hey, let's really talk." And it
Let
took
me ask you a
about,
question.
yes.
So, how did you feel when you got that call? And what was your response? And the reason why I'm asking you this question is because some people be like, you know what, forget y'all. Y'all didn't want to work with me at first. I don't want to work with you now. Or some people might take the time to go and say, oh, well, now you're coming back to me. What was your, how did you feel internally? And what was your response?
So folks folks like to spin the block.
Okay.
So I'm patient. I'm
Hmm.
patient. That's the other thing. In business, you got to have some long-term strategy and some patience. So I knew it would be the perfect opportunity. I knew when it was, when it was coming to fruition. I am thankful though that it took the time it did, because um all this was going on as COVID was, happening and all that. And then they opened their doors in like 2021. So it gave them an opportunity to go through what they needed to go through, and for us to get to where we were, to where we had a solid enough reputation. Again, not necessarily the wine, but in the what I call the with Kepper Institute, has, I don't know if they've coined it, but for me they've coined it social capital. That
Hmm.
just being who I am, I've gained enough social capital in the community that I think that is why they took, that's why they spun the block. They were like, okay, we need somebody. The alcohol is, alcohol sells itself. And I tell people the alcohol sells itself. If
Hmm.
people want to drink, they're going to come get a drink. But I run this bar in what I call intentional hospitality. This
Hmm.
is your cheers. We
Hmm.
have gotten away from spaces where people, again, sip, share, connect. We don't have a lot of those spaces. Starbucks kind of came out and talked to everybody about the third place, third space, but they've gotten away from that in their commercialization. And so
Hmm.
unless you live in a neighborhood that has like that community space, Dorman Street, the Dorman Street bar, that is like the perfect community bar. Love that bar.
Hmm.
But if you don't live over there and you don't know about it, so I wanted to create what I call community gathering space. We just happen to have alcohol. And
Hmm.
so so I was already ready. Like I was ready. And then there were some hiccups, but we got it open. And I already knew I had my list of people who I was calling. And again, like you say, people are always in there. So I have used my social capital um, to build that. I mean, everybody doesn't come in and drink my wine on a regular basis. Fine with me. There are people who do, and you can come buy bottles, and now people are like, oh, I can just come get it from you. Perfect.
Hmm.
And so, but it's the social capital that I've built on doing what I say I'm going to do. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Now that is, and I've raised my children in that. That doesn't mean I might get to it tomorrow. I might need to say,
Hmm.
okay, it's going to take me some time. But this has been a 5 year um, stretch for me saying I'm going to get this to when I'm going to get it. And actually, when I wrote it in one of my growth plans, I didn't get it what I wanted it, but I just talked to one of my mentors, and I'm like, but I got it. So again, it's and some people do, like you say, leave with the whatever, whatever. But again, sometimes it's not always the right time for you to do things. So we can want something, but delayed is not denied. And so we have
It's
to
not
like
enough.
sometimes step back, and is it about, again, that moving yourself out of the way? Like, business is the most and people, this will be weird to people, the most humbling experience you go through, because people tell you no a lot. And
Hmm.
like, my stuff is fire, my stuff is like hands, but whatever, but um I have lived by this internal, I have an internal mantra, which is so funny. Like, my therapist and I discussed this, and I said this years ago. It's probably been over 20 years, maybe 15, 20 years ago. But my internal mantra is I'm Rick James. We know how that
Okay.
ends. So I'm Rick James, and if you don't know, go back and watch Dave Chappelle, y'all.
Right.
And that is my internal mantra. And I feel like whatever I'm given, I'm going to be given. So the provision for the vision will happen.
Mm,
Whether that is a job you need to work, y'all, and it is okay to go work a 9 to 5 and
hmm
get your coins. I did not leave my job until actually 2021, November of 2019.
Wow.
So had I known the pandemic was coming, sis wouldn't have quit her job.
Okay.
Sis would have stayed employed and got that check. But I left, but also my children were in college. They had scholarships,
Mhm,
they were in school, they were doing well. Everybody had gotten through their freshman year. So again, I had waited before I said, now I'm really taking care of me. I save money. So there's things I tell people you should do, but all that led up to me knowing that's my internal mantra. And that's what I have to turn on because we all get the about
mhm,
what we are. And I tell everybody, get that one that you can just say to yourself, write it on your mirror. My friend Angel Hicks, 28 Boutique, she doesn't, I don't even think knows this, but she had a post years ago and she had a sticky in her car with a mantra on it. And she was my stylist and everything. And I called her and I was like, girl, that is brilliant. So I have a sticky note in my car that
mm,
has a mantra in it. So I believe in
mhm,
affirmations and saying those to keep ourselves where we need, because the world will say things. As Black folks, we know the world saying things, but you also have to
mhm,
have a understanding of what's going on, but also a certain understanding of what you can do. So I don't know if I answered the question, but that's just, but yeah, I say people are always going to spin the block, but also be careful
uh-huh,
when they spin the block. Take a moment, and I'm learning this better. Take a moment to breathe, to think about it, and to also just tell people, give me a minute. Um, and it's okay to go jump up and down at home, like, yeah, tell your people, but be careful who you tell too, because you don't need all that outside.
mhm,
But that's the nature. People want to see you do it. And so this is advice, or take it how people want it.
mhm,
People want to see you do what you said you want to do before they ever join you. So when
mm,
people were
mhm,
talking, oh, I want to build XYZ, but I need a grant, most people have stopped listening because that says to them, you don't believe in what you're trying to do enough to do it.
mhm.
And so sometimes you just need to get the most basic fragmented piece. People were drinking my wine when they were in. I had a punch bowl, y'all, and a ladle, a punch bowl and a ladle that I went and
But you
probably bought.
started, but you
That's
started,
but I
and
started,
people could see it, and
and
people
they
could
saw it,
see
and they were like, "Oh, we like this." Then they were like, "We need it in a bottle." I didn't know nothing about bottling, so I bought mason jars and
it.
sealed them. And then I had to keep learning the process. But once people saw it and I was doing it, then and it came from the first open bite night I went to, and I had drinks, and I said, "Oh, somebody should be here just doing adult beverages. All this wonderful food, this would be great." My friend heard me. She was like, You're already doing it?" Because I was doing it from parties and for my friends, and then boom. So you need people need proof of concept. You need
Mhm,
proof of concept. It's in your mind, but you need to take it out. And I tell people, even people who are trying to build apps, there's AI that'll help you build an app. There's so many things. At least get a wireframe, get something on paper that people can
absolutely.
see, and then people can, because people back something they can see and the person who is
Mhm,
bringing them the idea. And so I always say, get you a proof of concept. And then people will follow that. That's how you get my first, we went to Essence Fest based on nothing but social media.
wow.
We got an invitation. Essence Fest had never done wine. In 2018, their 50th anniversary, y'all. Now, Essence Fest sees over 200,000 Black folks, mostly women. Now, come on now. Y'all never had wine before?
Right.
Crazy. So they were doing their first wine festival. And a lot of folks were like, no, they never done it. And the call came out really late. It was just a crazy scenario around it. But I got a call strictly based on my social media. This person had never met me, she'd never tasted my product. And I was like, yep, yep, we're I'm
Okay.
on a plane. I'm on my way.
Hmm.
And that helped propel me because a lot of my friends who were in from all over the country happened to be in New Orleans. They came, they got tickets at the door, came in, got to taste my wine, other wines. I was like pins and needles, like I do not belong in this space. I was imposter syndrome in myself. Look at all this amazing wine that's out here. These folks who've been in the business for years. Here I am. My partner was like, calm down. You're supposed to be here. Again, this is the room you're supposed to be in. We actually were told we were the best wine there. And
Not
so
surprised.
that was like, and that was people like I said, there were people that I knew from all over the country, never take, they knew me as a writer, not as a winemaker. And so they were like, oh, let me see this. Oh, and when people tell you little, beware. Correct them in the
Hmm.
moment. This is not little. It might be small, but don't despise small beginnings. But people are like, oh, your little business. Let me see what you're doing, girl. And they were like, oh, this is really good. Right. Because
Hmm.
I'm Rick James. But you, again, we started small. We just grew and grew. And, so I tell people, but have a framework, have that,
Hmm.
write that visionary plan down, no matter, and it's not for everybody, but write it wherever,
Write it down.
speak it, but have it so you know where you plan to go. It also helps when people start trying to take you different places. Another thing I had to learn, people wanted me to do all these things, but I could go back and check.
Hmm.
Yeah. So even wholesale was never on my board. And that was something I allowed other people to pull me into that was
Hmm.
never on my board. My board was always to
Hmm.
have make the wine, have a community space.
Hmm.
And so I'm, like I said, 5 years later, now we're like year 6 or 7, I'm back to that. So stay on your path and you will go off the path, but be able to come back to your path because you have you have your guiding, whatever your North Star or guiding point is. Or like I tell people, read a book called Start With Why by
Mm.
Simon
Start with
Sinek.
why.
One of my favorite books, Start With Why. And it talks about why are you doing this? Because um we do a lot of things and start a lot of businesses, but your business should not only, it should have a why that kind of solves a problem. Like
Hmm.
everybody's like, oh, you just make wine. No, we're out here trying to make, inclusivity, and we're trying to bridge this gap, from underrepresented, winemakers. And we're trying to demystify wine for people because wine is we know wine about wealthy white people, and they're usually old white
Right.
men. And coming out
Hmm.
of writing world, I tell people the canon in writing is old white men, old white dead men. And then I
Hmm.
moved into wine, which is old white men. And
Hmm.
so we need to have our space solidified in both these worlds. I teach Black canon of writers, and we need to have that. These are Black winemakers you can get who make everything just as well. Um, you know, that, what you drink. And so I think that's really, again, using that platform like you said, that's what I'm supposed to use my platform for. It's not even necessarily to sell my wine. That's just a little bump. And then once you move your ego out of the way, ooh, again, when you move yourself and your ego out of the way, it's really not about sipping your wines. It's
Hmm.
about um the community and what I can do to John Henrik Clark talked about, he's a great Egyptologist and African scholar, talked about if Black people just made toilet paper for the Black community, that person would be wealthy. And I mean multimillionaire, billionaire. We have those companies, but we also don't own the manufacturing behind it. This is a
Hmm.
time where we need to own our own manufacturing. And it's expensive, and it is. So we need to look into that's when I say get into your grants, get into your city projects that are, now trying to do a lot of smart manufacturing. And there's more tools that you can buy now that we couldn't buy 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, because the black wine industry, as we see it now, is really only about 30 years old.
Hmm.
So there's equipment now that didn't
A lot
exist.
of growth,
Yeah.
a
So
lot,
now
lot of
I'm saying
potential for
do it.
growth.
A lot of potential. And we just need to tap in
Hmm.
and again make sure that we're doing things that can also help um, provide something for people, you know.
Hmm.
So I'll get
So
off that
now that
soapbox.
you,
I'm sorry.
so now that you have Sip Easy, so I'm down to my final two questions.
Okay.
So now that you have Sip Easy, what's next? What is coming up? I know you have lots of goals, wanting to highlight businesses and brands. So what's next? What can the community look forward to in this new gathering spot?
Lots of collabs. Our biggest collab that we're doing monthly, where I think we're in month 3 now, is with the househead community. We're providing them an indoor space because they usually do a lot of stuff outside. So
Mhm.
the next one is Friday, December 5th. And I usually at the beginning of the month, but they can follow us at SipEasy Indy. But we do a house headset for about 4 or 5 hours. I think it's 4 hours. A couple different DJs from Indy and also Chicago. Super super fun. We do a sit back at the end of every of the month, last Saturday of every month, from 1 to 5, a day party. Aunties come on out. Folks who want to be home, before it gets dark, but you want to get a little drinky drink. And again, Sip Share Connect. And then we're working on some really fun collaborations with a lot of our community OGs, which again I love. And one of them, I will say, save the date, February 28th. I won't say what it is, but it's going to be something
Okay.
really fun. We're putting together the particulars, but February 28th is the date that we settled upon, and it's going to be super fun and something people will not want to miss. And most of the things we do are free, people. These are free things. We do ask that you support the food vendors, of course, buy a drink from the bar. But it's free and open to the community. These are things that we are paying for. So you help us pay for these continued events because you come and support us. I've got a couple other things in my pocket I won't speak on, but people have asked me to do some other things, and I'm like, So I'm
Like
having,
what?
yeah, my end of the year conversations are about things for like Q1, but growth is always for me. But my end of the year goal is to have all of our systems, our tech stack, all of the foundational things that make a business run done. So and codified, done, and my team knows, and that is like my biggest thing for me. And then moving forward, I'm usually at my bar Friday afternoons. People ask me all the time, how can I talk to you, how can I pick your brain? Buy a drink and you can talk to me. Buy a drink, pull up, and let's chat. I'm usually there after 4 o'clock. Our happy hour, we have happiest hours 4 to 7, Monday through Saturday. So usually you'll catch me there, always usually Monday evening. And I'm there chilling and love to, talk to folks, help them try to figure out a guidance. Cause again, that's part of, I think, what I'm supposed to do. But also just come by and say hi to me. And if you're over 50, and specifically if you're over 50, Black man or woman, particularly woman, I would love to connect with you and buy you a drink, because I'm looking for mentorship to also help me grow, because I do a lot of mentorship of younger
Mhm.
people, but I would love someone to help me grow. Specifically, if you have hospitality, bar experience, hotels, anything in the hospitality space, I would love that. and I'll buy you a drink.
See, look at you, still being teachable and willing to
I
grow.
wanna, I need to absorb. I did put out a post on Facebook, and one of my dear sister friends, Chef T, was like, check your DMs. She sent me this DM, and I'm like, she knows I love her to life. So also, Chef T is at the Central Library. Amazing food, coffee, beverages, tea. Please go by and support her. She probably has the best chicken salad sandwich in the
True.
city on a croissant bun. Love her to
Okay, I'm
life.
there. I'm there.
Her,
Next time
yeah,
I'm
Monty,
there.
like the whole team. And she was like, sent me a message. She's like, I see what you're trying to do, sis. Boom, boom, boom. Gave me what I call it, like initial. I got the initial key to get what I, my next thing. DM people, slide into people's inbox. You never know the relationship it can build. I'm good at that. I just got somebody accept my friend request on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn person. And I'm super excited because she has no idea that she's about to meet me. And I'm about to meet her. I'm about to meet her. And
Yes.
I'm about to learn some stuff that I know this woman has wisdom to give me. And so go to conferences, go to meetings. I met a sister who exited her business twice, y'all. She sold it to her employees. Then they asked her to come back to help them sell it to other folks. And when I tell you, I was on that, I was right there. Says, can I meet you? Can I get your contact information? How did you do
Yes.
that? So never be afraid. Everybody's not gonna email you back, and don't be afraid. Send it again and again and again. Sometimes you got to get on people's
Hmm.
nerves, and some people will
Hmm.
just talk to you to get you to leave them alone. But already have 3 questions ready, like the top
Right.
3 things. If you got in a room with whoever it is, top 3 questions you would ask them, and not just those frivolous things, but things that will move you as a person and even your business forward. I always like Spike Lee early on. He was like, people trying to ask me about my house and what does that look like. I'm here to talk about my movie. He's like,
Uh-huh.
bruh, I make movies. Don't be asking me about who I'm dating. Like, let's talk about these movies. So be prepared. Don't waste these folks' time. Don't be all tongue tied. Like, have your questions ready. Write them down. Have them in your phone and be like, okay, I wrote my questions down. I got 3 questions. Um, buy their books. Listen to what they're talking about. Be a student of whatever game you are in. Be a student. Learn
Hmm.
it. I didn't know anything about bar management. I'm reading every bar management book. I'm listening to the podcast. I'm listening to what the people are saying. I'm using this as my guide. My family loves Bar Rescue. They have been watching that forever. Soon as I got, my dad was like, "You need to go start watching all the episodes." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh." Then I found out John Tafer had a book. I got his book. Got it from the library. Then I was like, "This is too good. I got to buy my own so I can highlight." Be a student. Always learn. We don't know anything, y'all. That's yeah.
So before we go, are there any other creative avenues that you have not tapped into yet? Or do you feel like all your creativity is able to flow out? Or do you feel like maybe there's still something else? We got,
Got one more
yeah,
thing
got one
that
more thing.
I got another thing. I know I want to tap into. Yeah, I've done it before, but I'm gonna bring it back, and it's gonna be super fun. Hopefully, sometime in 2026. I'll bring it back, and yeah, it'll be probably yeah, and I'm going to re-release my web series because now it's like all the rage. So I'm gonna put those out where people can see those, and I've got another juicy little creative project. So people just got to follow me.
So there's more to come.
Yeah, there's more to come. I'm just like, again, I just feel like and I'm available for speaking. I'm trying to get myself on the speaking circuit. So
Okay.
I prefer like little, they call them fireside chats. There needs to be another name for those, but
Hmm.
yes. So I want to do that, but also bring people into the bar to do chat so I can learn. So people I want to learn from, I'm gonna start working on how to book them.
Awesome, 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 awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. The final question. what would that little girl who was journaling in her journal, what would she say about Nicole today? And what do you think your grandmother would say? Your grandmother that gave you that journal, what do you think she would think of this, Nicole, and all that you've done throughout your life?
I'll start with my great grandmother. My great grandmother, because I still talk to her. She is my number one ancestor out there doing her big one in my life. And she would be like, I knew you could do all these things and
Hmm.
just keep doing them and having fun. The thing is, they need to bring you joy. And when they stop bringing you
Yes.
joy, do something else.
Hmm.
So that was the easy one. Oh, my inner child who I'm still working on healing. Um she would say do these things, but um learn to have rest. So I'm a
Mm.
proponent of the rest ministry. There's a book called Rest is Resistance by Teresa Hershey. um so I am officially out of the grind culture, and so I think as I create and build things that bring me joy and also my inner child joy, I remember that I don't have to do them. I don't have to take over the world with them. Some things I just want to do for myself. And then some things I'm supposed to give out to the world. So she's like, learn that balance. I currently despise all this advice about there is no work-life balance for entrepreneurs. These are
Hmm.
all mostly coming from white men who were given millions of dollars. Um, and that is not true. You need a work-life balance. But I also say if I was a man, there would be a lot of things that nobody would be asking me about dishes and dinner.
Right.
So you find a balance that suits you. And yeah, but my inner child right now, I think she's like, we've done some dope shit. Like, and who knew, from whence we've come,
Hmm.
that we would be here. I've had to learn to get out of struggle and survival mode. Still working on that. Work in progress, y'all. Work in progress. But yeah, yeah. She would say, we still motherfucking here.
Okay, still
Good
here.
job, sis. Good job, sis. She's like, good job, sis. And I'm like, yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. I'm
That's it.
celebrating with you. Celebrating with you. So I
Yeah,
want to thank you again for taking time out of your day to
yeah.
talk to me, to share with the listeners. I feel like this has been just such a needed and powerful conversation. It's just flowed so naturally, so beautifully. You shared such great wisdom. And I can't take this moment to not use my shameless plug to say thank you for agreeing to host or to let me co-host your Wine Wednesday on December 10th, which is our opportunity to bring some folks together and have more people to try your amazing wine and to network. So I'm really excited for that December 10th from 5 to 7 at SipEasy. So thank you for all you're doing for the community to empower other businesses, to empower other people who are in the wine and spirit industry. Because now I feel like I need a list. Now I feel like maybe you can give me the list of the different Black owned spirit companies that are at your business and we can share it to the podcast and, just continue to promote because like I said, and like you wrote it down because it resonated with you, we all have a platform. It's all about how you use it. So thank you for using your platform to not only be about you, but to lift up others around you as well.
And abundant gratitude for having me on your platform. And we have so much more great work to do. And I just want to add to that plug December 10th. Please come out
Yes.
because you are part of our 12 days of Sipmas. So we kick
Oh,
off on December 8th and we go through I think it's the 19th. So you are our third day of
oh, I'm
Sipmas.
excited. I'm excited.
So come on out. Or is that right? Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, Wednesday, third day of Sipmas. So we look
Yep,
forward to it. And we just look forward to continuing to build in the community and doing what we're all supposed to do to, make this world a better place.
absolutely. That's what it's all about. Well, thank
Yes.
you again, Nicole. If you are in the area, stop by the Sip Easy. What are the hours, Nicole?
Monday through Saturday from 12 to 8, happiest hours 4 to 7, and follow us online at SipEasy Indy. We're trying to get to 500 people before the end of this year. I think we're close. We're almost close. So help us like get over that hump.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Nicole, and thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen. As we said, it's all about how you use your platform. Everyone has a platform. It's all about how you use it. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time.